Are you running out of time and wondering how you can prepare for PLAB 1 or UKMLA 1 in the shortest time possible? You are in the right video. Hi there, my name is Dr. Busola Deborah and I recently passed my PLAB 1 and my PLAB 2 examination, which stands for the Professional and Linguistic Assessment Board Test. And that is the exam that international medical graduates write in order to qualify as a doctor in the UK. And in 2024, that is going to change to UKMLA, which is the United Kingdom Medical Licensing Assessment. And if you want me to talk about the differences between these two, make sure you leave it in the comment section below. But in today's video, we are talking about PLAB 1. If you like to follow my journey, you can follow me on TikTok and Instagram at Dr. Busola Deborah. So PLAB 1 is a multiple choice question examination and it contains 180 questions that you have to finish within the space of 3 hours. And the exam is basically to test your medical knowledge skills, and most of the questions will be about you getting a diagnosis, the management plan, or investigations. And the pass mark of this exam depends on the average score of everyone that writes the exam on the same day as you. This exam is written in different countries across the world. It's written in the UK, in India, in Dubai, in Nigeria, in Ghana, and so many other countries. You can check out the GMC website to see a list of countries that the exam is written in. I'll leave a link in the description box below to check it out. This exam is written 4 times in a year. It's usually written in February, in May, in August, and in November. So I wrote mine in February this year. In order to be eligible to write this exam, you need to have passed an English test, which can either be the OET or the IELTS. I wrote IELTS in my case, and in this video up here, I shared how I was able to get band 8.5. If you've not done your IELTS yet, that is where you should start from. But if you have, let's go on with this video. The question a lot of people ask is, how difficult is this exam and how long does it take to actually prepare for it? So in my opinion, if anyone asks me how difficult an exam is, I would say it depends on how much effort and energy you put into it and putting those effort and energy in the right direction. The more you prepare for it, the better your chances of passing. The less effort you put into it, the lesser chances you have of passing. So just do the math. And in terms of how long exactly you need to prepare for this exam, I would say it depends on your level of knowledge and your situation. But on an average, it takes about 3 weeks to 6 months to be fully prepared for this examination. And maybe if you are coming fresh from medical school, you still have all the basic knowledge. And probably if you've gathered some experience as a doctor, you might find the exam to be much easier compared to someone who doesn't have so much experience. And also if you don't have enough time in a day, maybe you are busy with hospital or with even other aspects of your life, then that would also affect how well you're able to study for the exam. But if you have like dedicated hours, like let's say about 8 to 12 hours a day, you can dedicatedly study for the exam, and in about 3 weeks you should be in a good space to be able to write this exam. Now that you know the basics of the exam and what is expected of you, let's move on to the materials I actually used for this examination. So there were 2 major materials that I used that helped me in my journey, and that was PLAB keys and PLABABLE. So PLAB keys is like different PDF files in different categories. Categories are like subjects. So let's say like anatomy, obstetrics and gynecology, pediatrics, those are called categories. So these are PDF files of key points that are relevant to the examination. To me, it felt like the blueprint of the examination as well. And it felt like that was like the key ingredient that actually made everything come together, because you know there is so much information in medicine and you can't really read everything within a short period of time. But the PLAB case kind of brings it to a condensed size and focuses on what is actually relevant to the examination. And for PLABABLE is a question bank. PLAB has been done over the years, so PLABABLE actually mimics the examination and gives questions that are similar to what can be asked in the examination. Not necessarily the same thing, but like the old structure and like what you should expect if you read PLABABLE and you go to the examination hall. Like it will not seem foreign to you, it will not seem new to you. It will be more like you are actually continuing PLABABLE. And the third thing is not really a material. So I had like groups that I joined where people discuss about the examinations and basically maybe new questions that are coming out, clinchers. Clinchers are actually like keywords that you could see in a question and you just know the diagnosis because of that keyword. So if you see a question where a patient has dysphagia and on barium swallow you see a bird's beak appearance, you just know that that is achalasia. Like the bird's beak appearance is just like pathognomic for achalasia. So when you know words like this, it just kind of makes your life easier to answer questions faster, because this exam you are racing against time. Okay, so now to actually the strategy that worked and how to use these materials. So what I did was, in the morning, I would look at PLAB keys. I was basically practicing according to category. So I was not jumping from ethics to O&G to hematology on the same day. So I focused on reading the PLAB keys of a particular topic. Let's say, for example, we want to pick hematology. So picking hematology today, I read the PLAB keys of hematology. And the good thing about PLAB keys is that it is done in such a way that it's more like spaced repetition. So when you read the first page, you might see the same thing on the fourth page. So that way, your brain kind of picks up the information as important and it makes it stick. So when you go to PLABABLE to answer the question, it just makes so much sense. I always aim to finish at least one category a day, and there are some categories that are not so large. So if I'm doing categories like that, I would like do multiple categories. So after doing PLAB quiz in the morning, in the afternoon, I would go to my PLABABLE and answer questions on that same category. So it's just like you read it in the morning, in the afternoon, you are seeing questions about it. So like you remember what you've read. I usually have like an aim to finish about 100 questions a day, but it depends on your schedule. Just find a way that works for you and apply that to yourself. The bottom line is like have a goal of how many questions you want to solve that day. You can do it on your own, but I found it really helpful to have an accountability partner, to have someone that I was studying with, because there will be days where you actually don't feel like studying, but like if you have someone with you, like it just makes so much sense. And like talking together with somebody about a particular thing, you remember more compared to just reading it alone, because there could be instances surrounding the moment that just makes you to remember better. At least that worked for me. And for the group discussions, how it worked for me was at night before going to bed, like I joined some groups where people have discussions on questions. Also, they do it category wise. So sometimes they could be doing a different category, or they could be doing the ones that I also studied in the morning. If it's like the same category I studied in the morning, I'm going over the entire thing for the third time that day. So it's like your brain has received that information so many times and would see it as important and will find a way to like retain it. So that's how I went about it. If you are pressed for time and feel like you might not be able to finish the entire question bank, I would advise like you go for the high yield topics like cardiology, obstetrics and gynecology, pediatrics, like and some other ones. If you join study groups, like people discuss about these things, but like these are some of them, and focusing on those ones kind of gives you the chance of like scoring high, because large proportion of those questions will come out in the exam. So even if you've not touched on some, it might not determine so much. It would be good if you actually go through all of them, but I'm talking in terms of if you don't have enough time. Focus on what is more important, because in the real sense of it, everything is important. You need about 62 to 65% to actually pass the exam, so you don't need to know everything. Another tip in terms of the category is doing the categories where you need to calculate, like epidemiology and genetics. I did those ones close to when my exam was, because I felt like if I had started memorizing formulas, I'll probably forget. But like doing it close to the examination made it fresher in my memory. And if we are working with a short period of time, we don't want to like pay our attention to something that can be done later on, if you get what I mean. If you're able to have a solid plan of doing like PLAB kits, PLABABLE and group discussions like every single day, then you will go really far in a short period of time. And when it's coming close to your exam, I would advise you do mocks. They are really, 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 really important. I can't stress that enough, because the exam is time based and you are racing against time. So the mocks kind of put you in a position where your brain is used to sitting down for 3 hours straight and solving like 180 questions. That is not normal. Like that's not what people do on a regular basis. So if you're able to like do lots of mocks, your brain kind of gets used to it, and on the exam day it's not like another hurdle you have to face. You are just thinking about, okay, my knowledge that I have is what is going to like save me at this moment. And when I did my exam, it was about 17 mocks, like on the PLABABLE. And the thing about the mocks is that it is actually the entire question bank placed in like mixed order. So you are not doing category wise again, you are doing like just random selection. So you don't really have control over the question that you can see. And I think this is so good, because this is actually how the exam is going to be like. It's not like you are choosing from a particular category. So it's really essential that you're able to go through your mocks, go through as many mocks as possible, and just see it as a form of revision, because then you are going over the categories again. Another way to maximize the use of PLABABLE is like when you answer a question, you get the correct answer immediately and an explanation follows. So please don't just memorize those answers and believe that, oh, I'll see that question in the examination. they might actually change the form of the question, they might change how we present, and if you don't understand the reason of choosing the answer, you might get it wrong. And one thing I noticed when I was studying is that if I was doing like a really large category, let's say the category has like 150 questions, before I get to the end, like most of the questions I'm getting them correctly, because sometimes the questions are actually repeated but just in different formats. So please take your time when you are correcting yourself, knowing why you got an answer wrong, actually understanding how to apply it to the next question. At the end of the day, the time you spend preparing for the exam depends on you and your situation. If you don't have so much time, then you can use these strategies. But if you have more time, please take the time. It's better to really be prepared for an exam than to go underprepared. But if you don't have the time, then prioritize what is more important. And before I go, I would just like to share some tips that helped me and that can help you during your practice so you can be more efficient on the examination day. So number one tip is reading the options first, then going to the last line of the question before you go to the main body of the question. I think that just saves a lot of time, because that way you are able to know what is expected of you and what you are looking for, than just reading the questions, not really knowing what to look for, and then having to go back to the question again. And the second thing is knowing how to skim through long questions. Some questions on the examination day is going to be like a full page long. So if you don't know how to like look for the main point that they're looking for, you are going to spend so much time and you might not be able to finish your examination. So while you are practicing, try to practice with time and learn how to skim through the questions. The third thing you need to know is that the examination is actually paper based. I don't know, somehow I was expecting the examination to be like online, because I've been practicing a lot with like online question banks. So I never really imagined it to be paper based. Having that knowledge kind of gives you an idea of what to expect, because you'll be using a paper and a pencil, and you would have to shade into those small boxes. Having this in mind can help you to put in consideration the time you would need to transfer your answers to your question paper, because they're not giving you extra time. 180 questions in 3 hours. That's like 1 minute for one question. So like you are doing a lot in 1 minute. When you have that question paper, like it's like a book. So the pages, what I did was I ticked the answers on each page I could see before I transferred my answer. So sometimes there could be 5 questions on a page. So then maybe the answer is A, B, C, D. When I finish ticking, I'll look at it and I'll be like, okay, A, B, C, D. Then I go to my question paper and tick A, B, C, D. So that way I'm saving the time of having to transfer the answer at every interval. Does it make sense? I'm sure it does. And finally, I just want you to know that this is a very doable exam and I believe you can do it. So please go and put in all your best, put in all the best that you have. And I'm sure you'll come out in flying colors. And I can't wait to hear your testimonies in the comment section below. If you've learned 1 or 2 things from this video, please hit the subscribe button. And you can follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Dr. Busola Deborah. And I'll see you on the next video, guys. Bye. Mwah. The birds beak, the birds beak, the bird, wow. What am I saying?